Order, order, the Prime Minister.
Mr. Weir, I do beg that the sitting now be adjourned.
The question is that the sitting be now adjourned. Gavin Barwell.
Thank you, Mr. Weir. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I'm grateful to the Backbench Business Committee for giving me this debate. The riots in early August took place in many parts of the country, but the images that many will long remember, the House of Reeves furniture store on fire, Monica Konjic jumping from a first-floor window, were images of my hometown. It's good to see the Honourable Member for Croydon North here. We represent different parties in this House, and he may not agree with everything I have to say today, but we are united in our determination to uncover the facts about what happened on that night and see something positive come from the ashes at Reeves Corner and along the London Road in his constituency. My honourable friend, the member for Croydon South, has asked me to put on record his apologies for not being here. He is abroad on Foreign Affairs Select Committee business. On the 11th of August, Mr. Weir, the House had just over 4 hours to debate what happened. My apologies. Had just over 4 hours to debate what happened in many parts of London and some of our major cities. Many honourable members, including some whose constituencies were affected, didn't get to speak. And though the work of the Riots, Communities and Victims panel and the Metropolitan Police's own internal review are still ongoing, 2 months on, I think we have a much clearer picture of what happened, what the appropriate lessons are for public policy, and what still needs to be done. I want to start with the issue of who or what was responsible. Much of the media coverage in the immediate aftermath of the riots featured the term feral youth. The implication given was this was all a lot of teenagers on the rampage. And there was also a lot of discussion about whether this was a direct result of the very difficult decisions that the government has made in relation to public spending. Talking to my borough commander, having had the opportunity to review much of the CCTV footage in Croydon, it's quite clear that there was a significant degree of organisation, that it was not just a sort of spontaneous protest. According to the figures from the Prince's Trust, 19% of those in London who have been arrested are known gang members, and undoubtedly there are a number of others who are arrested who are involved in gangs, but maybe not known yet by the police. The data that the Ministry of Justice published in September showed that of the 1,715 people who'd come before the courts by midday on the 12th of September, 73% had a previous caution or conviction, and the average number of offences that they were guilty of was 15. On the issue of the age of those that are responsible, the Ministry of Justice figures across the country show that 21% of those who come before the courts were under the age of 18, 52% were under the age of 21. The figures I've obtained from the Borough Commander in Croydon show that the age profile of those involved in the offences in Croydon is significantly older. Just 15% of those arrested are under the age of 18 and only 38% under the age of 21. So the picture that was given that this was just teenagers that were responsible for these offences is highly inaccurate, and I think all members on all sides of the House will want to regret the demonisation of a whole generation of young people. I will certainly give way to my honourable friend.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way so quickly, because he is building a powerful case, Mr. Chairman. But would he agree with me that from the figures he's already presented us, that those involved in the riots in London, as with the disturbances in Gloucester, were mostly people with previous convictions or warnings, and that although there is much to be done in order to highlight opportunities, especially employment opportunities for them, we shouldn't confuse the treatment of one with work on the other, and that responsibility is the key thing in this question?
Gavin Barwell.
I do agree with that. I think both are issues, but we should start with the matter of individual responsibility of those involved, and I will come on and develop both of those points during my speech. So it seems to me that the first two lessons, Mr. Weir, are first of all the importance of tackling gang culture. And my starting point on that issue is that this is not just a matter for the police. We cannot simply enforce the problem away. We also need to offer a way out of gangs to young people, many of whom may have essentially felt pressured in terms of their own safety, in terms of getting involved. And we also need to work with the local communities that are suffering from this problem to make sure that they are involved in bringing peer pressure onto those who are involved. And I think there is a lot in the Centre for Social Justice report, Dying to Belong, that was published in February 2009, that is worthy of work. I will give way.
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for giving way and congratulate him on securing this debate today. As it goes on about breaking the gang culture, would you agree that it is, in a large part due to a lack of good role models in the community, so they tend to look to, youths tend to be drawn towards gang culture, and a poverty of aspiration and the lack of social mobility in our country.
I think all of those things are factors. I think also we can look at issues of family breakdown, particularly lack of male role models across the piece, essentially. As I said, the CSG report has some very compelling analysis about what leads people to get involved, and I look forward to the government statement, which the Minister may confirm. I think it should come in a couple of weeks' time, on how it intends to respond to this issue. I'll happily give way to the Chairman of the Select Committee.
Honourable gentleman, can I also congratulate him on securing this debate and commend the role that he and the Honourable Member for Croydon North played during these disorders. As he knows, the Select Committee is conducting an inquiry. We're coming to Croydon on the 24th of October. Has he had an opportunity to look at the evidence that Bill Bratton and the new Metropolitan Commissioner gave to the Select Committee on Tuesday, when there was a comparison between gang culture in this country and the United States? And does he think this could be helpful as we try and fashion an acceptable way of dealing with this real problem?
I'm very grateful
Gavin
to the Chairman of the Select
Barwell.
Committee for the invitation. I haven't had a chance to see that evidence, and when I leave this room, I will go and have a look at it. I certainly think it's important that we look both at what has been achieved elsewhere in the UK and abroad in terms of how we deal with these problems. Mr. Will, I'll now try and make a little bit of progress because I want to allow all of the members here to contribute to this debate. It seems to me that the second lesson is one that the Secretary of State for Justice has made very clearly, which is about changing the way our prisons operate in order that we tackle the issue of reoffending. Because clearly many of the people that were involved in these disturbances had been through our prison system, and it had not done anything to change their pattern of behaviour. I want to turn to the police response. The briefing that all London members have received from the Metropolitan Police tells us that there were 3,380 officers on duty on the Saturday, 4,275 on duty on the Sunday, 6,000 on the Monday when the disturbances in Croydon took place, and 16,000 on the Tuesday. It then, with commendable honesty, says, were adequate resources deployed over the weekend and on Monday? With the benefit of hindsight, the answer would have to be no. I think all members of representing London constituencies would share that judgment. But it seems to me the third lesson, quite clearly, for the government is that police numbers do matter. Yes, the police cannot be exempt from the need to save money to deal with the deficit that we have inherited. Yes, we can do much, much more to ensure that more police officers spend their time actively, visibly on patrol on our streets. But at the end of last year, the government was saying, the Minister of State for Policing and Criminal Justice said, I don't think anyone would make a simple link between the increase in the number of police officers and what has happened to crime. There is no such link. When the riots broke out, the government and the police's response was a 2.5-fold increase in the number of police officers on the streets, and it worked. So it seems to me that the government is quite right to say that numbers are not the only game in town, but clearly they are an important part of it. Their performance, I think, from Tuesday the 9th onwards was significantly better. I had the pleasure on the Tuesday when the Mayor of London came to Croydon to meet the person that is now the new Metropolitan Police Commissioner, and was enormously impressed with a pep talk I overheard him giving to a number of officers who had been through a very difficult time the night before, and a much more robust approach from the police in terms of breaking up groups of people that were attempting to form is what prevented further disturbances from happening. I also think it has been enormously important to actually see police officers proactively going out, knocking down doors and arresting suspects in the early hours of the morning. It is very important that the people involved in these disturbances do not feel, and their friends and neighbours do not feel, that they won, that they beat the police. And the robust approach that we have seen since then is very important. As I will give way on that point.
I asked the question as chair of the all-party group on retail and business crime, and a lot of retailers feel that crime against their shops is seen as a victimless crime. Would the honourable gentleman agree with me that a lot of people who are committing these crimes felt they were have in some way doing a victimless crime, and it could be because in the past the sentencing had not been robust enough?
Gavin
I
Barwell.
will certainly come on to the issue of sentencing in a second, Mr. Weir. But if anyone was under the illusion that these crimes were victimless, I think the experience in Croydon, where the shops that were devastated were not the major multinational businesses, but small businesses, often actually, particularly, and I'm sure the Honourable Member for Croydon North will refer to this, businesses in Croydon owned by members of the BME community, the family business, the one premises. These were absolutely not victimless crimes. As I was saying, as of the 10th of October, 2,819 arrests have been made across London, 1,700 people have been charged. The cost so far to the police in Croydon of this operation is £1.4 million. And the first question that I would like to ask the Minister is reassurance about who is paying for that. Because clearly the police face a difficult time in terms of their budgets. The Prime Minister, when he was asked about this on the floor of the House on the 11th of August, said, and I quote, "The bill for the Met Police Force for the past few days will be large, and if they continue to deploy in these numbers, it will get larger, and the Treasury will stand behind that." Now, there is still uncertainty in the Metropolitan Police about where this money is coming from, and I hope the Minister will be able to provide reassurance on that point.